All right. Well, I will say hello and welcome back to another episode of All About Balance. And today I am joined by the one and only Kira Carter. Kira, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
Yes, I am good, thank you. I am good. So let's start at the start, right? Do you want to? Obviously, you're wearing an MTK top, right? And
Yeah.
and recently there was some announcements made on social media. Do you want to talk a little bit about those?
Yeah. So I recently just got signed by MTK, a great platform for boxing. And I'm excited to start a journey in professional boxing.
Yeah. So how did that come about? Like, how do you get signed by someone like MTK?
So obviously there is a lot of hard work behind boxing. I've had a long amateur career, and I just thought obviously it's that time. I'm old enough. I'm mature, and I think it's the right time to turn over pro. So I reached out to Wayne Woods, my now professional coach, and I says, "Look, Wayne, I think it's time we turn over pro." He went, "Perfect timing. I'm in talks with MTK." And obviously they have a look at your amateur career
Mhm.
and do a bit of research about you, and they were happy enough to sign with us.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And what's that feeling like? Like, obviously, I imagine there's lots of emotions turning from AMI to pro, right? But then to sign with a brand like MTK, or to know that a brand like MTK are interested in you, what's that like?
It's it's like being on cloud nine in a way. It's unbelievable because you never think sometimes that these big names want you,
Mhm.
and it's always obviously to start off a pro career with such a big platform. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I can imagine. So take me back to why boxing? How did you get into boxing? How did that even start?
So boxing, I was never interested in it at all. I started boxing because of my mum. So
Okay.
I used to play rugby. I used to play a lot of rugby.
Okay.
I probably still do it if my mum didn't get me into it. And she kind of just went to us, "Oh, do you fancy coming down gym?" Me and a few girls are doing like a fit class. I was only 7. And they went, "Oh, there's a little kids class. Do you want to go join in?" So I went, "Yeah, go on then." Um, walked up the stairs of Dog and Gun pub, and that's where all started. I just fell in love with the sport.
Yeah, that's so. Let's go even further back than that. So, I mean, you say that you were playing rugby before. Why rugby? How did that start?
It just made sense. Everyone in my household plays rugby.
Right.
Like
Okay.
so my mum, my dad played rugby. My brothers, like everyone in this household plays rugby.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense. So, well, how did it go down that you've changed sport? You've changed family sport from rugby to boxing. How did that go down?
um, there wasn't a big issue. My mum was very supportive, like she has been throughout everything. She just went, "If you want to start, start." And I stopped and started a lot throughout it, but I have obviously I've stuck at it, and I am where I am now.
Yeah. So, I mean, talk me through how you become a pro fighter. Like, that may sound like a strange question, but what's the difference between somebody turning up at a local boxing gym and doing a couple of sessions to then having a long amateur career like you had to then turning pro? Like, what's the difference?
Um, it's See, a lot of people don't kind of get it that there's a lot behind boxing. There's people just think, "Oh, I can go in, punch bag. Oh yeah, I'm a boxer," kind of thing. Obviously there's a lot to it. There's footwork, there's your hands, stance, everything. Because like a lot of coaches will say, and they'll agree with me on this one. Everything starts from your feet because they're your foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you can't just go in. There's a lot to learn. Like I'm still, as even though I'm turning over pro, I'm still learning little bits to the game. and it's obviously there's just that step up in the pros from an amateur.
Yeah, and I mean maybe this is similar to an MMA, but like your amateur record is obviously important, but when it turns pro, that's when it really matters, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. We always refer to it in the amateurs as records are for DJs.
Sure, that's phenomenal.
Yeah, the for DJs, and yeah, they always matter, and you want to have a nice record, of course you do, but you've got, like, not a lot of, you look at some people's records and they won't tell you the names of boxed and stuff like that, or how many fights they've had. They'll just go, oh yeah, I beat so I've won 5 fights, that kind of thing.
Sure. And yeah, I mean, I guess in the amateurs, it's essentially just a proving ground, right? Like you just said there, that you've still got some things to learn, some things to refine as you turn over pro. But in the amateurs, you can make all the mistakes you want, really, right? And that's where you can learn, and that's where you can do the good things you do and the bad things, right?
Yeah, definitely. Like, it is, in a way, your amateurs is your learning, like your little learning place. Like, I never, probably most boxers will think the same. It's not a loss, it's a learning curve.
Yeah.
And to be fair, you can do that from a win as well. You can win, you can beat someone and win, but you can always learn from it.
Mm-hmm. So what were the biggest learning curves that you took from losses in the amateurs?
Never underestimate someone.
Okay. Tell that story.
Yeah. So I once boxed a lass, and I stopped her in second round, nice second round stoppage, and then I boxed her a year later. So I'm going into it with all this confidence, thinking, yeah, I've stopped her before. Easy win. We boxed it out for 3 rounds, and she beat me. Just plain and simple. She outboxed me, and that's how easy like you can be beat. Like, obviously, boxing's a point game, and with the amateurs and pros, there's so much different style. Like, amateurs, you're very on your feet, bounce it in and out. You've got to be fast in and out. With pros, it's slowed down over so many rounds, so you can plant your feet a bit more, but biggest learning curve. Never underestimate anybody.
Yeah, and how does that, because that's something as well I think is a big nuance, is the style difference, right? Like you say, an amateur fight is generally shorter, right? It's not 10 rounds, it's not 12 rounds, it's not 15 rounds if it was back in the day. You know, you're fighting over 3 rounds, and in female boxing it's 2-minute rounds, right?
Yeah. Or there is on elites, it did change to 3 minutes.
Okay. So yeah, so you've got 9 minutes in comparison to 20 plus minutes, right? So how does that play into your style specifically? Do you prefer the ammy rules, or do you prefer pro rules?
The pro all the way. I like to. I've never been that typical amateur. I've never wanted to be bouncy on my feet. I like to plant my feet, get my shots, and then be out of the way. So obviously I've got that style of, I like to be in and out, but I like to plant my feet. But with the amateurs, obviously you've got to be on your toes. You've got to be in and out all the time. And I do like to plant my feet, take my time that little bit more, and settle in. But with amateurs, you can't settle in, because you've got 3 minutes. You've got 9 minutes in total. Obviously, pros, you've got, say you're starting off 4 rounds, you've got an extra 3 minutes there to in a way play with.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, what do you think about the ruling on 2-minute rounds for females and 3-minute rounds for males in the pros?
I kind of disagree with it. It should be an equal thing.
I agree.
If the amateurs can change it, why can't the pros?
I agree. Do you know what's the history behind that rule?
I'm not too sure. I think obviously boxing's always been a man's sport, so I think to introduce women into it, they've tried to create a bit of a boundary.
Right. And I think that leads on nicely to my next question, and my next thought is like, how do you find being a female in what you determine to be a male sport, right?
It's it is tough because the look at like you get the looks and you think, but she's a female, she can't box, she can't do this, and then you get in that ring and you do what you do best, and you put a shock on the faces. It's always going to be hard in a man. It's a man's world, of course it is. Everything's different. There's always them boundaries. But that's what us females are here to do. We're here to change that thought. It's not a man's world. It's an equal world. It's a man and woman's world.
Yeah, and I think, you know, especially in boxing, where boxing's in a weird place, so maybe we can talk about that. Like, I wouldn't be as much of a boxing aficionado as you, but I look at the sport, and you know, heavyweight boxing is obviously heavyweight boxing, right? Everyone knows who Anthony Joshua is. Everyone knows who
Yeah,
Tyson Fury is. Everyone knows who these guys are. But then if you look down the ranks, like obviously there's Canelo and there's Golovkin and there's, you know, Terence Crawford and whatever. But people know who Clarissa Shields are. People know who Katie Taylor is. People know who, you know, name X female champion, right? They know who they are, right? And I think that's testament to what you've just said. Do you know what I mean? That there is room for women, and it is an equal sport, and it's the same in MMA. Right? If you say Ronda Rousey, people know who Ronda Rousey is.
yeah.
If you say who Amanda Nunes is, people know who that is. Paige Van Zandt, people know who these people are, right? And I think that you're absolutely right. I think that there should be equal footing, right? It should be an equal sport, and I agree with you that I just don't see why you have 2-minute rules. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not like you're going to gas out from an extra minute. Do you know what I mean?
That's what I mean. We do equally like as much training as all the lads do. Like our sessions, obviously, I'm the only female in our pro gym, so there's probably about six, 7 pro lads, and there's just little old me. But I do everything they do. There's nothing. Wayne doesn't change anything we do in training. He goes, if we're doing something, we're doing it all together. It's as simple as that. And I think that's what, I don't know, I don't think that's what, like, in a way that they can't understand that we can actually do everything lads do and more.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, what's the atmosphere like in your gym, given that you're the only female pro? Like, how do you deal with that?
It's absolutely great. The lads treat me no different. We go in, we have a laugh, and it's absolutely amazing. I've boxed with a lot of the lads in the amateurs anyway, so we know each other very well. But when I went in, I was just treated like I was just, in a way, one of the lads.
Yeah,
that's just how it goes.
Yeah, it's good, right? And I think it's important to note that your training sessions are exactly the same. You know, like you're not skipping weight sessions, or you're not skipping, you know, rope sessions or bag sessions or whatever because you're female, right? You're doing exactly the same as everyone else, and can do exactly the same as everyone else. You have the capacity to do the same as everything else. And I don't know. I don't like that rule. I don't really understand why. You know, I was watching Terry Harper defending her belt the other day. I can't remember exactly who she was against, but in that fight, like, it was obvious that, I mean, she won the fight, but it didn't look like she was settling into the rounds, right? By the time she'd settled in, a minute and a half had gone, and, you know, she's got 30 seconds to do whatever she can with the rest of the round, right? And to your point, like, if your style is to, as you say, settle in, right, plant your feet, land your shots, and wear your opponent down, like, it's hard to do that in 2 minutes at elite level boxing, right?
That's it. You don't realize when you're in there, 2 minutes goes nowhere. It goes in a blink of an eye. 1 minute you're in there, you're starting off around, next minute it's gone. It's absolute madness. But I think things they do need to change, and I think female boxing should be as equal as male boxing.
Yeah, if you could change 3 things about the female game, what would you change?
2 minute rule.
Yeah.
I'd probably, if more females got into it, I'd probably add a few more belts in there, because we do not have as many belts as all the lads do. And then another one. As much publicity as all the lads do.
Yeah, I think that's important. And I want to touch on the second thing, actually, because, one of the criticisms of male boxing is that there's too many belts, right? There's like 4 or 5 belts per weight class, and, everyone's a champion and this, that, and the next thing. But then in contrast, there's the female division that basically has, one set. If you can explain the belt system to me, the WBO, the WBA, and the IBF and whatever, like what's the difference? Are they just governing bodies, or?
Yeah. So they are just different governing bodies, and they just have obviously their own belts in a way. But yeah, no, females do not have as. Yeah, probably in the males they do have too many, because there's a lot of international belts that. There's just too many to remember. But you look at the lads you've got Southern area, you've got your English, you've got your British, Commonwealth, which the females do have a Commonwealth, albeit I am impressed with that one. They have, obviously, God knows how many international belts, and then obviously they've got the main world titles.
And the females in comparison have what?
So they have a Commonwealth belt. They do have a few international belts, not as many as the lads though. And they have all the world titles as well.
Yeah. I don't really understand. I mean, maybe it's because the female game is newer, right?
Yeah, it's one of them things. There's not that many females, so obviously to have something like a British title, you need a lot of British fighters at the same weights like the males do, obviously. But it's always been like that. There's always been a lot of like male fighters, even in the amateur game. You'll look at stuff like your championships.
Mm-hmm.
So you have your regional rounds first, and I know lads that have boxed every round in the Yorkshires because they've had to, because there's someone there.
Mm-hmm.
And then they've gone into the national stage, and you'll box anyone from around the country, and they're boxing every round in that as well. Females, I boxed once in the Yorkshires, I boxed in a final, and then when it comes to national stage, I boxed. The most I've ever boxed is twice. I boxed a semi-final and I boxed a final.
Jesus.
Yeah. So you can, as a lad, you can box 8 times or more.
Yeah. Whereas you're boxing 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why do you think there's so few females in boxing?
It's got a lot better. Don't get me wrong, it has got a lot better, but I just don't think it's one of them things that gets publicised enough, even though it is getting, don't get me wrong, it is getting quite a bit of publicity with people like Terry Harper, Katie Taylor, and that. They're bringing the publicity to it, and obviously Sasha Jonas. But it's not getting that. Like, you turn on your TV and I guarantee you'll see Anthony Joshua on a Lynx advert.
Sure.
or the JD advert. Well, Terry Harper is a matchroom fighter. Why ain't she doing the JD advert? Because she's sponsored by JD.
Yeah.
Because obviously all matchroom boxers are sponsored by JD.
And why do you think that is?
Because I don't think they're ready for a female face to take over that spotlight of what Anthony Joshua's got.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because, I mean, okay, the heavyweight champion of the world, regardless of whether they're male or female, the heavyweight champion of the world is a title that's been revered for centuries, right? If you're the heavyweight champion of the world, you're the baddest man on the planet.
Oh yeah, of course you are.
That's the idea, right? And Anthony Joshua is obviously that. Anthony Joshua is obviously are really well marketed, really well spoken. You know, if you sat in front of God and was like, build me the ideal man, he looks like Anthony Joshua. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Right?
Yeah.
So I get it. I get why he's so easily marketable. He goes in the ring and he puts people away, and then he looks how he looks outside of the ring, and he's not involved in any trouble or this or that or the next thing. But you're right. Like, Terry Harper's a world champion. Terry Harper is
she unified?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, she's under 25. She looks great. She's got a great story. She talks well. Blah blah blah. Like, why is she not in that?
That's what I mean. It's just it in a way it's wrong. She should be the face of JD or something. She should be on a TV advert, and there's no reason why she can't.
I agree. And the same for Katie Taylor, right? Like, Katie Taylor, in my opinion, is probably the biggest female boxer of all time.
Yeah, she was, in a way, that push to, obviously she was the person who made it possible for female pros, because she, well, don't get me wrong, like, obviously Clarissa Shields, she was pro before them, but Katie Taylor just opened it up a bit more in the UK for everyone.
Yeah, for sure. And again, that takes nothing away from Natasha Jonas or any of these fighters. But yeah, it's a bit of to be honest, like, it's also a bit of a shame for Katie, because you go and, like, you watch her last fight. I can't remember the lady that she fought, but it was like if me and you got in a ring. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Katie is just battering this woman from pillar to post. Right, and this woman, you know, fair play to her. She hung in there, right? She took the shots and she went all around, but it wasn't anywhere near close. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it feels like, to your point, like, there's not the depth of female boxing that there would be in male boxing, right? And it's a struggle to find somebody to match Katie Taylor at her weight. Do you know what I mean?
That's
Is that something that you worry about?
We've had a look, obviously, who's about at the weight that we want to fight at.
What is that weight?
It would be, it's either Superfly or Fly, so one of the two.
Okay.
But we've been looking at it, and we're happy that there's some good fights there, definitely. And if we need to, if it happens, we'll step up, we'll go up with it, because I'm very comfortable at making the weight I'm making right now, and I'm happy to step up.
Yeah, that's something I did want to speak about, is weight cutting. Like, do you Superfly or Fly? What is that in kilos?
So it's about 50, 51 kilos, something like that.
Jesus. And if you don't mind me asking, what do you walk around at?
So I'm
not Christmas weight, like general training weight.
So at the minute, I weigh, this morning actually, I weighed 8 stone 10, which is the lightest I've been in quite a bit, which I can't think what that is.
Yeah, so what is the weight cut like?
Do you know what? It's not a struggle. I never,
it's I'm 55 kilos, by the way.
55 kilos. So we're nearly there.
Yeah.
We're nearly there. So it's never a struggle. I never try and make it a struggle. I've always been that kid that makes weight no matter what. I've never missed weight. I've always hit weight. Lightest I've ever probably boxed at, when I was probably about 18, was 47 kg. I did skim myself down to that, but I've always been that person of I make weight, and I never try and leave it last minute ever, because that's where you can cause yourself damage in a way. You've got to do it gradually. Like in the amateurs, it is harder because you never know when you're gonna get a fight. It's Monday now. You can get a call tomorrow. You can be fighting on Friday. That's just how it goes in the amateurs.
Yeah.
But obviously pros is a lot different. You do get last minute calls, but they're never short. You've got that camp always to like prepare for.
Yeah, and talk me through how you cut from 50. Like, how do you cut those 4 kilos? Because if you're walking around light, right? Like, do you just change your diet? Like, what do you do?
So I eat a lot of meal preps. I'm happily sponsored for my meal preps, which is great.
Who are you
And
sponsored by for the meal preps?
it's called Bon Appetit, and it's a cafe just in Swarcliffe, Leeds, and that's Steve O'Connor and Nikki. They're absolutely great. I've known them since I was only little.
But yeah, sorry, carry on.
Yeah, so I get meal preps off them, and they obviously that takes a lot of stress out of everything, because meal preps can be stressful a lot of the time, because obviously you've got to watch what you put in it and stuff like that. But that helps drop weight because I'm eating what I need to eat, the right amount of carbs, protein, all that. So I tend to I have two meals a day, and I have my breakfast on the morning.
Yeah.
So I'll have that, and then I'll go training. So I only train once a day. I don't train as like twice, 3 times, because it's not needed. And I get my runs in. So just doing that, it'll gradually drop down.
Yeah, and you mentioned there like about how you only train once a day, right? Whereas if you followed what Instagram tells you, you know, you're doing a marathon a day, you're doing 3 sessions a day, you're doing weights, you're doing this, you're doing that. Like, why do you train once a day?
For me, it's because I work. If I could, I'd probably train as many times as I could. But I train once a day, and to be fair, that's all I need right now. I don't need, like, you look at people like Terry Harper. She probably trains twice, 3 times a day, but she's a world champion, right? She's not got no side job on the side. She's paid just pay off as a boxer. That's all she does for a living. Obviously, I wish it could be that easy that I could just go, forget a job, I just box. But I'm happy with what I'm doing, just training once at the minute and getting my runs in. So sometimes I'm doing a run on a morning, go to work, and then I'll go to the gym.
Yeah. And what do you do for a job?
So I'm a team leader at Superdrug, so I'm on my feet all the time.
Jesus, I mean, if I was you, I'd be shadow boxing around the gaff, right? Like, you're talking about footwork and stuff. Like, you could use Superdrug as a, and you probably want to box up some customers at the same time. But yeah, I mean, I think this is, you know, that's the other thing, is it's like you've got people fail to understand, like, you're about to turn pro, so you're about to be a pro boxer, a pro athlete, a professional athlete, right? And hopefully fighting on the bigger stages in the world in, you know, in the next 3 years. But yet you're not paid enough to be able to train 2-3 times a day. You're not making enough money from boxing to be able to focus entirely on that. You're working a 9 to 5, right? You're holding essentially a managerial position in a regular day to day. And I think people, that's something that needs to be highlighted, right?
Yeah, definitely. Like, it's, don't get me wrong, in the male side as well. Some of them do actually keep down the jobs because they don't get paid enough. But that's the downside to it. You turn over pro, and there's a lot of the side that people don't know about when you turn over pro. Obviously, if you get certain promoters, you get cut rubbish deals. You've got to sell so many tickets, stuff like that. Obviously, you've got to rely on sponsors. You've got to get them sponsors in, because without sponsors, you've got to pay nearly 600 quid out for brain scans, stuff like that. And then you've got to have, people don't know, but you've got to actually have 2 kits for boxing. Just in case that boxer you're going to box has got a kit that clashes with yours, so you've got to have 2 kits just in case. There's everyone just sees this glory side to it all of oh yeah, I'm gonna turn up pro, I'm gonna make millions, yeah, kind of thing. And it's not. You've got to start off somewhere rough. Like, lucky enough, I've got an absolutely amazing deal that we will not speak about.
Sure.
But I've got a great deal, and obviously I've got a lot of sponsors coming in at the minute, just waiting to rough over a few
The details
things.
out, yeah.
Yeah, just a few details, but like, I've got some good sponsors, and I'm happy of what I've got.
Yeah, so what's the trajectory, right? Like, what's the plan? If I said to you, tell me how the next 3 years goes.
So just hard work, keep doing what I'm doing. I want to hopefully obviously I want to be a full-time boxer in the next 3 years. I don't want to be working, and I want to be a world champion.
Okay, so how do you get there? How many fights do you think until we can talk about world championships?
It's hard to say, because where do you put that line on it? I hope in the next 2 I'll be a world champion. Because obviously, best thing about female boxing, it's changing all the time. There's more people coming into it. There's the champion don't always stay the champion all the time.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting sport to be into, and it's obviously I don't want to put a fight number on it. I hope less than 10.
Okay.
But we'll play it as it goes.
So if that's, do you expect to fight 3 times a year? More?
Hopefully so. I like to be active.
Yeah, I think, that's the general number, right? For pro athletes, especially in MMA, is it's 3 fights a year, because you've got the whole camp. Let's say you pick up an injury in the fight, you got to recover from the injury, get back into camp. And talking about injuries, like, how do you, obviously boxing is a dangerous sport, right? Like, we talk in this episode so far, we've talked a lot about the glory that you get to train, you get to do this, you get to fight, you're signed to a massive promotion, you got a great deal, you got sponsors, like, but it's a dangerous fucking sport, right?
Yeah, that's it. It's one punch can change your life. Obviously, that's a big step up in the pros. Females not wearing head guards.
Yeah.
It's not something that scares me, because I'm excited not to have an head guard on.
Yeah.
Them things are absolutely head sweats.
Yeah.
But nah, it's one of the things. Like, I'm nervous. I'm always, like, I'm one of them people. I'm always nervous, but I never show it. And once I'm in that ring, then that's it. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, but I did want to, like, I fought as a kid, not boxing, I fought kickboxing, but it's something that I never thought about head trauma. I never thought about head injuries. I never thought about the repercussions of taking a kick or taking a knee or taking a big shot. Like, is that something that you think about?
No, it's mad when you're in there. Obviously, you get in training sessions, you do sparring, and you never really think about what's actually happening in your body when you take that shot. What's doing this? What's doing that? Till you kind of sit back and look at it, and you think, "Ooh, like, I can get obviously you can get serious hurt," but I'm not one of them people that kind of over worry about it. Obviously, I'm cautious, but I don't worry about it.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I think that's a general fighter's response, right? Because if you worried about it enough, you just wouldn't be doing it.
That's it. If you're worried about getting this shot and it's gonna, I don't know. Obviously, plenty of fighters have been killed in the ring, which is obviously awful and stuff like that. But if you're gonna be worrying about every time you step in that ring and you're gonna get hit and it might, I don't know, end your career, end whatever, you shouldn't be in there. You shouldn't be in there if you're worried, like, if you're that scared, kind of thing. But everyone's different. Everyone handles everything differently.
Absolutely. So we've got 2 years to be. Is there a current world champion at Superfly or Fly?
I think there is. Yeah, let's have a little search. Should we have a little search?
And where do you go to find this stuff out? Because this is the thing that I struggle with is, you know, I was doing a bit of research before this episode, and it's difficult to find out a lot about female boxing, to be honest.
To be fair, I do go a lot off what Wayne, my coach, says. Obviously, I don't ask too many questions. I just go, oh, let's go.
Yeah.
But he tells me, obviously, he tells me a lot of things because he's very, very knowledgeable, and he's got a great. Obviously, we work a lot with Sean O'Hagan, Josh Warrington's dad. He is part of our stable, so obviously he has a great boxing knowledge.
Yeah, of course.
So obviously you ask them the questions and they've got an answer. But
Yeah.
most of it, if I aren't around them and I haven't texted them already, I'll probably just search it up.
Yeah.
So Superfly, there's a few. There's I don't know if I'm gonna say half of these names right. We'll see. Marbella Ramirez, she's got the WBA. Lourdes, I don't even know how to say the last name.
That's fine. Let's not try and butcher it.
Yeah. We don't want to cause any disrespect.
Exactly.
Like she's got WBC. IBF is Georgilla. No, we aren't even going to try and say the last name either. She's got the IBF, and Tomoko Okuda, she's got the WBO, and currently the ring belt is vacant.
Okay. So does it? I mean, I'm trying to put myself in your position, right? Like now that you're about to step out, have you got a date for your first pro fight?
Currently pending. So we are back in gym at night after a nice Christmas layoff.
Yeah.
And we're gonna enter we're gonna start camp. So obviously we're just getting everything loose, start ticking over again. But we'll just wait for a date. Hopefully I'm out in February, but obviously I'm not too sure yet.
Okay, and have you got any idea on opponents at the moment, or are you just going to take whatever they give you?
Take whatever they give me. I ain't bothered. Put someone in front of me, I'll smash them.
I'd like to hear it. I mean, it's good, right? Like, but are you nervous? Are you excited? Are you both? Like, how do you feel?
So I'm excited. I'm very excited because I haven't boxed in over a year because of obviously COVID, stuff like that. It's been rubbish, and then obviously when you get back into training, you're getting fit, stuff like that. So it's been hard not to be able to box. But I'm also that little bit nervous because if you don't get nervous, there's something wrong with you. So I always see it. If you don't get nervous, there's something wrong with you.
Of course. I mean, at the end of the day, you're getting into a fist fight with another human, right? And you know, they're going to try and put you away, and you're going to try and put them away, and see what happens. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a really interesting time in your life, right? You know, you've had this amateur career, and you've got a supportive family behind you. You've got a good team in MTK. You've got a good gym behind you, and now you're turning pro. Like it feels like it could be the start of something really special, right?
Yeah, that's it. It's do you know what? I just can't wait to kickstart the career. Like, I know obviously a lot of my friends, they're absolutely buzzing, stuff like that. To be fair, my work has been absolutely amazing. I can't thank everyone who's helped me, kind of thing. It's one of them ones of I have had a lot of support. Like, my work have been absolutely amazing when I boxed, because in the amateurs I boxed for England, and I got a lot of calls of, oh, you need to be down Sheffield, that's where all the camps went down, kind of thing. You need to be down there on weekend. And I'd be talking to the boss, and I'd be like, hey Moss, I need this off. And he'd be like, just go.
That's beautiful.
And not a lot of works would be like that. I am lucky to be in a way in the job I'm in.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. And that sort of leads me on to my next point of, like, who are you outside of boxing? If boxing didn't exist, who are you outside of boxing?
If you ask people this, you get very mixed responses.
Sure.
I'm just plain old me. Obviously when I'm with my mates, I'm just lively, bubbly. I love to have a laugh. Obviously, if I'm at work, then I have my laugh with the girls, don't get me wrong, but I'm very obviously serious, stuff like that, get my tasks done and hit targets. And then when I'm at home, obviously when I'm at home, it's chill time. I like to switch off a lot of the time. I come up in my room, play my Xbox kind of thing. Or if the nephew or niece is about, I'll end up messing about with them. But I like to, when I'm at home, it's a lot of switch off time. It's nice to be, obviously, apart from when the boxing's on at weekend.
Yeah, sure.
I like to just switch off from everything, work as much as I can.
So you mentioned Xbox. Obviously, that's a massive part of a lot of people's life. First of all, what are you playing? That's the first question.
Oh, many things. I play a bit of I play Call of Duty.
Okay.
I play a little bit of Fortnite. I will lie.
Excellent.
UFC 4, FIFA. I'm a very mixed person.
I like that. I like that a lot. I'm playing Warzone at the minute. So Call of Duty Warzone.
Good choice.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. You mentioned UFC 4. Like, do you follow MMA?
Oh yeah, I love it. Absolutely love it.
Okay.
Female fighters, Macy Barker, absolutely smashing.
Yeah, Macy Barber is phenomenal. She is phenomenal. I think, and I think that's. I mean, obviously, I'm a lot deeper into MMA than I am into boxing, but I think there is more equality in MMA. I really do think so. Like there are. Is it right that Katie Taylor was the first person to headline a boxing card as a female, like a matchroom one or whatever it was?
Yeah.
And like that's nuts, right? Like there have been females main eventing cards in the UFC and in MMA for a long time. I mean, have you heard of Invicta? You know Invicta?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so Invicta is a female only promotion, right? Which I mean, you don't find. Is there a female only promotion in boxing?
Not that I know of.
right. And this is kind of my point, right? Like, you know, there's obviously to think boxing is a vastly larger sport in its history than MMA, right? MMA's the UFC at least is only 25, 26 years old, and you know MMA will have happened before then, but not as professionally. And you know, boxing's been around for hundreds of years at this point.
Yeah.
And you can't. You're saying that you're not struggling, but you struggle to find training partners and that are female and fights at times, and the scene for the UK is a lot slimmer than the male scene. Whereas in MMA, I think I don't really understand why it's different but it is different, right? Like there's even Clarissa Shields now, she's transitioning over to MMA, right? That must say something. That must say something.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like obviously, you look at like the UFC. Dana White, he's absolutely doing bits. He's got one belt in every weight division, and he hasn't changed it, and he's never going to change it because that's the best way. Have one champion. Like obviously, it is nice in the boxing to have obviously get your chance to be a champion. Don't get me wrong, that is nice, but you look at there's no fuss about it. There's one belt in the UFC. And that's it. Yeah. And obviously, Clarissa Shields, I reckon she'll do bits in UFC. Obviously, she's training with John Jones, which she probably couldn't find a better training partner there. He's absolutely sick.
Yeah. I mean, the Jackson Wink camp. You obviously have Holly Holm, who's an ex-champion. Michelle Watson, who was Invicta champ. You've got a ton of great female fighters and male fighters are obviously in that camp. I'll be really interested to see how Clarissa comes across because, I mean, obviously from a technical perspective, the range is different, the stances are different. The fact that you've got a mix in wrestling, or you have the threat of wrestling, you can't just plant your shots all the time, and just the difference in what you can and can't throw in 4-ounce gloves in comparison to 10-ounce, right? Like that's
it. Like obviously, everyone says, oh, you can, like, obviously we train and spar in 14s, 12-ounce gloves. And as soon as you put on 10-ounce gloves, it's a total different game. It's like you feel a shot a lot more. Obviously, the pros is an 8-ounce glove. But could you imagine having half the size of that glove on? You're going to feel a shot. you look at, did you ever watch the McGregor Aldo fight?
Of course.
Obviously, you eat him with that one shot, you're out, boom, gone.
Yep.
Like 13 seconds. Ooh, like that's how much. That's the difference. Like who's ever knocked someone out in 13 seconds in the boxing? Probably no one.
Yeah,
imagine.
I mean, I think obviously you've got crazy punchers like Deontay and Inoue and these kind of people who can put you away with one shot. But I think the difference, especially in boxing, is, and this isn't a criticism, right? This is, boxing is a specialism, but you only have to worry about two things. You have to worry about a right hand and a left hand coming towards you. Now the way that
definitely.
the way that is set up is by footwork and angles and stances and feints and all this kind of stuff, and it's super intricate and super complex. But when you're fighting in MMA, you have to worry about every limb coming at you: elbows, hands, knees, shins, feet, all this kind of stuff. And you have to worry about people taking you down and the grappling and everything else. So, I'd say there's more opportunity to land strikes in MMA, which when you're then boxing, that's why you don't see somebody just run in and knock somebody out in the first shot. Because that was the first shot that Conor threw, right? Like, well, the first punch he threw anyway. He threw a couple of kicks to the knee and whatever as rangefinders, and then he threw that counter left hand. And,
yeah.
I mean, everyone has seen it. Everyone has seen that knockout. But yeah, I think. Would you? I mean, probably this is a silly question for somebody that's just turning over pro. But would you ever dabble in MMA?
Do you know what? It's been a thought. I always looked at it and I thought, wouldn't mind having a go. Maybe once I've made my career and I've had a nice career in boxing and I've done what I wanted to do, definitely, I'd have a switch over.
That'd be interesting. And you mentioned what you want to do. Like, what is it? Because obviously everyone wants to be a world champion, right? But what is it that you actually want to do in boxing? At the end of, if you come back on here in 10 years, right? 10, 15 years, and I say to you, like, how was your career? What would your career have been? What would you have done?
Yeah. I want to make female boxing absolutely massive. That's what I want to do. I want to change it. I want to make it equal as equal. And obviously I want to be in history books. I want everyone in a way to know my name. I want to change my life, my family's life. I've got to look after I've got to look after my mum because she's obviously put a lot of money and investment into it. Yeah. But I definitely want to change it. I want to, well, not change it obviously, but I want to make them adjustments. I want to do I want to do 3-minute rounds. That's what I want. Obviously, if you change bit by bit, you're soon to get that equalisation, and I reckon you'll soon get that female intake as well.
Yeah, I'd like to see it. I really would like to see it, and I think that I'd be interested to see how you get on, because you're in a position where you've got the world at the boxing world at your feet, right? Like, let's say you go and in 2 years you're a world champion. If you're a world champion, that knowledge, just that having that belt wrapped around your waist means there's more attention on you. There's more media opportunities. There's more, there's more eyes and there's more attention. Like, and that brings an opportunity. Do you know what I mean? That brings an opportunity to speak. And I don't know. I think it's a really exciting time.
Definitely. And you're definitely right. With obviously, say we do become a world champion in 2 years' time. Yeah, you've got all the cameras on you, you've got all this media and stuff like that. But it's knowing how to use the media to do everything you want to do. Because obviously, you have got to be careful of a lot of things you do. You can't post stupid stuff, and you've got to be careful. But it's just using it right and using your platform to project your voice and your vision of what you want everything to be.
And is there, maybe this is a silly question as well, but is there formal media training that you go through to try and understand how to manipulate the media best?
No. So you know what, like you go So when you go to your board meeting to be all approved and stuff like that, they tell you what you can post, what you can't post, what you can do, can't do, stuff like that. And obviously they tell you social media is the most important thing you're ever going to use. So he says, be careful with it. Obviously they tell you to change a lot of your profiles, make them public. But if you're wanting to have a private life, have a private, obviously, like profile kind of thing. But it's one of the things you've got to, like, lucky enough I can speak to people like Josh, because obviously he's in that position. He's a world champion, and he's not known by obviously a lot of people. So obviously I can go to him and go, Josh, right, I just want to be more careful on social media. What would you suggest? And I guarantee if I spoke to my manager, Glenn, he'd probably have an idea as well of what I could do, who I can speak to. So I've got the right people around me to help me, definitely.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that is very, very different in boxing than in MMA. You're turning pro, 0-0 pro, right? Looking to get your first fight in a couple of months. And you've got a management team, you've got a promotion behind you, you've got, you know, people in your stable that are willing to help you to do X, Y, and Z. In MMA, there is not that, right? Like if you're an 0-0 pro, generally, unless you're like an uber prospect, you don't have that. You don't have that structure around you. You're just going to go and fight wherever they hand you a fight, and you'll take whatever they give you. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's one definite benefit. But, you know, I think there's when you come across somebody that is going to be successful, generally they have all the necessary pieces in place, right? And all that then it's down to is that person then, i.e. yourself, to go turn up at the gym every time, put everything you have into your training sessions, and then go out and win, right? And look, from my perspective, you know, we've spoken for just under an hour, but it seems like you have all of the necessary pieces in place to go out and be a world champion and to, you know, to have the platform that you're looking for, right?
Yeah, definitely. But that's the way you've got to have pieces in place, because if you don't have pieces in place, where you're gonna, like, it's gonna be hard for you to start off, definitely. And I am lucky enough to have a lot of people, obviously, around me that know what they're doing. Like I've known Josh for a long time. He used to go around, like still do, go around his dad's for dinner. And we've done it for years, and we've known each other for years, and it's always just been one of them things. So I am very lucky to know who I know, in a way.
I'm gonna challenge you on that. I don't think it's luck.
I don't think it's luck.
I really don't. Like, I think that people that you gravitate towards and the people that gravitate towards you, that happens for a reason, right? And I think that people look at other people for a reason. MTK have signed you not because you're some whoever off the street. It's because there's potential. You're a prospect, right? The people around you, the guys in your stable, your amateur career, etc., that's put you in a position. Now, all of those things, if we wanted to get as granular as possible, is there is a reason behind all of those things, right? You turned up at the gym every day before each of your ammy bouts. You put your training in, you took your training home, you did your homework, you were, you know, doing X, Y, and Z, you take your weight cuts professionally, all of this kind of stuff, right? And then you get to know people through the sport, whether it be Josh Warrington, you pop around to his dad's to have some dinner, or, you know, whatever it is, right? These people are in your life and in your career are there because, in my opinion, you've made the right decisions, and people around you have made the right decisions. You know, you wouldn't know Josh Warrington on a boxing level if your mom at 7 years old hadn't been like, do you want to come down to the gym? And you saying yes, right?
Yeah.
It probably wouldn't have happened, right? You're probably still on the rugby pitch, knee deep in mud.
Yeah.
Right? But that's not the case. So, you know, the reason why I don't like when people say, oh, I'm lucky to have this, I don't think that's the case. Because if you turned around and, you know, told Josh Warrington to fuck off, he probably wouldn't let you around his house for dinner. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
you probably
definitely.
wouldn't be friends with him. So you know, you make choices. Everyone makes choices, and I think that I don't like to put it down to luck, because it then takes away from what you've achieved and what you're potentially going to achieve.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's just my rant about luck. I apologize. But yeah, look, I mean, I think I'll give you the floor. I'll give you something. If there's any closing statements you want to give, I've taken. I know that we started early, but I've taken over an hour of your time, so we'll wrap it up. But is there anything specific that you want to end on? Any shout outs you want to give? Any?
What's that now?
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's all right. I just want to I want to thank definitely my mum for everything she's done for me, because without her, none of it would be possible. Without taking me that first day down the gym, like, I'd probably still be on a rugby pitch. Yeah, maybe I don't know. Maybe I'd be doing bits for England, doing rugby.
Very possible.
But who knows? That's a different story. I want to thank Wayne for everything he's done for me. Obviously all the time that he's putting into me and stuff like that. I want to thank all the lads in the gym. I want to thank definitely Jason at Tigers Boxing. He put a lot of hard work into me, believed in me a lot, and got me where I needed to be. And obviously I'm grateful for all the time he's done. I want to thank my sponsors. I want to thank Sarah Robertson at Vita Massage. She's absolutely godsend. She keeps me fresh, ticking, and ready for a new training session. And Steve and Nikki at Bon Appetit. If you aren't already, guys, hit them up.
Absolutely. And where can people find you on Twitter and Instagram and all this kind of stuff?
So my Insta is ViperCarter01, and I think Twitter's that as well. Let me just double check. ViperCarter01 on Twitter as well.
Perfect. Well, look, from having this guy, like, I try and get a read on people, having spoken to them, right, and spent a little bit of time with them. And obviously it's not in person, so it's not the same thing. But from having spoken to you now for a little while, like, I'm excited for your career, right? It feels like you have all the necessary pieces in place. It feels like, throughout this whole thing, whenever we talk about boxing, you smile, right? Now, that's a positive thing in my eyes, right? If you're excited to get up every day and go and, look, it can't be fun all the time, right? There's definitely going to be, I suspect there's times when you really don't want to go on a run. You don't want to go and get punched in the face, right? But you do it anyway. Right?
Yeah, definitely.
And to have that sort of mentality, to have that drive, and to have that commitment, generally things work out well for those people, right? So I'm really excited for your pro debut. As soon as you get that announced, please let me know, and we'll post it on whatever channels we have available.
Yeah, of course.
And yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. Thank you very much for your time.
That's been a pleasure with you as well. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, no problems. I will speak to you soon.
Speak to you soon, mate.